Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyil kareem. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. The theme for the present talk is Islamic way of life. Islamic life consists individual and society. Fard and ijtima, that is individual and society. Political system or political rule is not. Political rule is not an integral part of Islam. It is very important to understand this point, that political rule is not an integral part of Islam. If you want to know what is the Islamic way of life, first of all, you have to know that political rule is not an integral part of Islam. There is a very clear verse in the Quran in this regard, that political rule is not a monopoly for any group. No group has minority over political rule. Sometime one group will have political rule and sometime the other group. So it is very important to understand this point. The verse in the Quran in this regard like this: Tilkal ayyamu nudawiluha bainan nas. Tilkal ayyamu nudawiluha bainan nas. It means that political rule is sometime in the hand of, political rule will be in the hand of Muslims. Sometime political rule will be in the hand of Muslims and sometime in the non-Muslims. So political rule is not an integral part of a Muslim society. It is very important. Some people who are obsessed with political rule or political system, they always fight, they always try to capture power so that to establish a Islamic life, Islamic system of life, which is wrong. The fact is that Islamic life begins from Iman. Iman is the starting point of Islam. Iman means faith or realization. When one realizes that there is no God but one God, when he realizes this fact and accepts it wholeheartedly, with conviction, with complete faith, then he is a mu'min. Then he has a mu'min. So mu'min is one. Mu'min is a realized person. Iman begins from discovery, from realization. In Quranic word, al-marifa, al-irfan. Irfan means realization. مما عرفوا من الحق. So beginning of Iman is marifa or realization or discovery. So when one realizes the truth of Islam, then he becomes mu'min. There is a hadith, man arafa la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. One who realized that there is no God but one God, he will be rewarded paradise. So this is the beginning of Iman. It is Iman that is the gate of paradise. Now, when there are many Muslims, there are a group of Muslims, then it is a Muslim society. They form a Muslim society. Now, what is Muslim society? Muslim society is a non-political organization. Again, I will say that Muslim society has nothing to do with political power. No. Muslim society is a non-political organization. Because there is a very relevant verse in the Quran, La ikraha fid deen. There is no compulsion in religion. So only that kind of religion or Islam is acceptable to God, that one adopts without compulsion. If he adopts anything under compulsion, then it is not Islam. It is not rewardable. La ikraha fid deen. There is no compulsion in religion, in Islam. So it is very clear in Islam, in Quran and Hadith, that only that kind of deed or action will be accepted by God that has no relationship with political power. In communist society, there is a organization. In democratic society also there is an organization. These organizations are mechanical organizations or political organizations. There is not religion. So simply mechanical organization or political organization is not a religion. Only that kind of organization will be accepted to God, which is adopted without any compulsion. Then there is a verse in the Quran, in chapter number 51. Chapter number 51. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. It means that man was created for one purpose, that is worship of God. This is the only purpose of creation. Now, what it means? It doesn't mean that man must pray every time. Is not this verse is not in this sense. If we every time pray, if you are engaged every time in worship, it is not required by Islamic way of life. So here ibadah means وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Here ibadah means God-oriented life. Our life must be God-oriented. Every activity, all our activities, all our behavior and our character, including our intentions, must have the Spirit of God. So what is required is Spirit of God, not every time engaging in worship. So Quran declares that man was created for one purpose, that is ibadah or worship of God. So, and also there is a hadith about salat prayer. As-salatu jami'atun. Prophet of Islam has said, As-salatu jami'atun. It means that salat, that is namaz or worship. Salat prayer is center of Islamic life. Central point, assembling point. Salat is like assembly, an assembling point of Muslims. Then there is a hadith, al-masajidu buyutul muttaqin. Masjid is the house of taqwa. Masjid is a house of taqwa. It means that masjid is taqwa center of taqwa. Masjid is like a center where people gather to train themselves according to taqwa. The center of taqwa. Masjid is a center of taqwa. Taqwa means God consciousness, God fearing, God oriented life. This is taqwa. There is a hadith. There was a conversation between two companions. One companion asked to the other, "What is taqwa? Ma hiya taqwa?" So that companion said, "Have you any time passed in a path where on both the sides there are thorny bushes?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Then how you pass that path?" He said, "Shammartu wajtahattu." I passed by saving myself of those thorny bushes. So this is taqwa. He said, "Zalika taqwa." So taqwa means living a life by saving yourself from all kind of evil character, evil thinking, evil intentions. This is taqwa. The masjid is a center of taqwa. In masjid, you are trained for life of taqwa. It means that then there is about during Prophet Moses, children of Israel, who were the Muslims of that time, they were given the advice by the Prophet that اجعلوا بيوتكم قبلة واقيموا الصلاة. The same advice that in every town you have to build a mosque, and that mosque will be center of salat, center of ibadah, center of your life. So mosque is a natural center of Muslim life. As-salatu al-masajidu buyutul muttaqin. So everywhere you see that Muslims have built a mosque throughout the world for this purpose. So Muslim society is, the center of Muslim society is masjid. You know, in masjid there is a imam. This imam leads the congregational prayer. Imam means leader. So imam is a non-political leader of Muslim society. Why he is called imam? Imam means leader. Every imam of masjid is a non-political leader of Muslim society. The whole Muslim society is required to follow that imam voluntarily, not compulsively. Where compulsion is involved, there is no ibadah. Ibadah is a voluntarily practice by your own free will, by your own choice. So imam of every masjid is a non-political leader of Muslims. He is the organizer of Muslim society. Islamic life means, on individual level, it means iman, faith. Every member of Muslim society must be faithful. That is, he must realize Islam as a truth with a capital T. So every Muslim is a realized person as an individual. Then society is an organized society. Alaykum bil Jamaa. It is necessary to form an organization, to live in an organized way. Where there are Muslims, where there is a Muslim group, they must live in an organization. Without organization, there is no Muslim society. But this organization is a non-political organization. And its natural system is that you build a masjid and you appoint an imam, and this imam is a non-political leader of that society. Then, what is the function of Imam? First function is to lead the congregational prayer. The first function of Imam is to lead the congregational prayer. And also another function is that to address people, especially on Friday, in the Friday prayer, which is called khutbah. In this khutbah, Imam tells all those things that is important in terms of religion, in terms of Islam. So Imam is a religious leader of that Muslim society. He performs his duty through khutbah, through advices, and also through fatwa, through Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. All these things are non-voluntary organizations. They are a very important part of Islamic society, that is Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. According to the Quran, Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Now, what is Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar? It is enjoining what is right. It is enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf is very important and is an integral part of Muslim society. All the senior members of society, it is duty of all the senior members of society to do this job, Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, especially the Imam of Masjid. Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar is not a political institution. It is completely a non-political institution. Although it is a part of every Muslim society, but it is non-political. Because political means when political, if it is a political organization, then it is a compulsive organization. And compulsive organization is not ibadah. Not ibadah. So it is a voluntary organization. It is a non-political organization. So according to Islamic teachings, Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar is a necessary part of Islamic society. It means enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. This is a important part of the Imam. So it is required that all senior members of society, especially Imam, must watch the society, must observe the society. He must be aware of the society affairs, and he must serve as a guardian, as a counselor. Every time he sees that a member of the society is doing something which is wrong, he must tell them, and they must accept its advice, and they must accept his advice. I read a book about Japanese society, I recall a book. This book was about the Japanese society. A British scholar, perhaps he was a journalist, after several years of research, published a book about the Japanese society. Also, this was the title, The Japanese Society. This was the title of the book. So, in that book, there was a very interesting item. The author says that in every Japanese, men and women both, there is a mysterious spirit. It is inculcated in their personality. In his words, he says that every Japanese think that I am under someone. I am under someone. This is the Japanese feeling. I am under someone. It is among Japanese people, it is by nature. The same is required in Islamic society by Sharia. Submission is the culture of Muslim society. Submission is the culture of Muslim society. Every Muslim, men and women both, must feel that they are under someone. They are under God. But according to God's commandment, Imam is the leader of society. Also, the senior members of society are in charge of the society. So every Muslim must obey their advices, their counseling. So this is the Muslim society. All these things are non-political. If this kind of society was organized under compulsion, under political rule, that is not a Muslim society. It is simply a mechanical society. It is a technical society. It is a political society. It is not society of taqwa. It is not society of people of taqwa. So, yesterday I was in a discussion under some TV channel. They asked about fatwa. Fatwa is an integral part of Muslim society, but in not that sense, which is now you can see in media. In media, it is a distorted picture of taqwa. In real sense, I said that fatwa means opinion, that is personal opinion. So, it is required for every Muslim that when he feels that he has some problem, he has some issue, he must ask the Imam or any scholar of Islam, any Islamic scholar. Every Muslim, when he feels that he has some problem, he must contact with an Islamic scholar or with the Imam of Masjid and ask him to give him guidance about that issue, about that problem. So that Imam or that Islamic scholar must give him advice under the Sharia. And that man must follow it with the true spirit of Sharia. This is fatwa. Fatwa is an fatwa is a voluntary organization. Fatwa is a integral part of Muslim society, but it is completely voluntary system. And also, I said that it is misuse of fatwa. At present, people are misusing fatwa. For example, if a girl has adopted a dress, so she must ask about Mufti whether my dress is Islamic or not. But what is happening? Someone else asks fatwa that Miss so and so has adopted this dress, whether it is Islamic or non-Islamic, and the Mufti issues a fatwa. This is not fatwa. This is misuse of fatwa. You have to differentiate between the two. You have to differentiate between the two. If a person who himself is involved in an issue, he asks about his own personal problem, and then Mufti tells him that this is the answer in the Sharia law, in the light of Sharia. This is fatwa. This is fatwa. If Mustafti asks about his own problem, then it is istifta. And if Mustafti asks about the problem of someone else, there is not istifta. There is fitna. There is anarchy. So there are two different kinds of fatwa. One is right and another was wrong. Because if someone else asks and Mufti issues a fatwa, then there will be controversy. Then there will be anarchy. So fatwa is an integral part of Muslim society. But at present, people are misusing fatwa. In this sense, it is not a healthy part of society. It's a problem. It creates a problem. So, al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar is a part of Muslim society. Fatwa is a part of Muslim society. And also, all those kind of advices, counseling are part of Muslim society. But all are non-political. All are non-political. Compulsion is not a part of religion. Because if you do something under compulsion, then it is not a ibadah. It's not rewardable. So every issue of life is ibadah. Every issue of life. Ibadah is not simply praying in mosque, but all your act which you are doing in your family, in the market or anywhere. So all those actions are ibadah. Ibadah means that you must follow the commandment of God. You must follow the commandment of God voluntarily, by your own choice. So what I am saying that organization is part of Muslim society. Discipline is part of Muslim society. political compulsion is not a part of Muslim society. Not at all. Then there is a hadith that Bunya al-Islam ala khams, shahadati an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu wa iqami as-salah wa ita'i az-zakah wal hajj wa sawm Ramadan. It means that there are 5 pillars of Islam. 5 pillars of Islam. Al-Arkan al-Khamsa. So Prophet said that there are 5 pillars of Islam. First is kalima, to say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. This is the first rukn or first pillar. So kalima is the first pillar. Second is salat or salat prayer. Third is fasting in the month of Ramadan. Fourth is zakat. And fifth is hajj. These are 5 pillars. All these are voluntary rukn. No political compulsion is involved. If in a society, by political rule, if these 5 pillars were imposed by political power in a society, then it is not Islam. It is mechanical organization. All the Islamic teachings are non-political teachings. So let us take the first. First is kalima, to say that there is no God but one God, and Muhammad is the Prophet of Islam, Prophet of God. Now this is, I can say that it is art of thought management. Art of thought management. How to manage your thinking, your mind. When you say that God is one, it means that you are declaring your realization, your discovery. It is not simply a recitation. When you say that there is no God but one God, you are saying that I have discovered this truth. For example, you know that in olden days, people saw the nature, and in nature there was diversity. There were different type of things, planet and stars, and mountain and ocean, air and tree, different type of things. So they saw this diversity. From this diversity, they inferred that there are several gods. There are several gods that control this diverse nature. But after hundreds and thousands, after a long study, man discovered that is not true. During Newton, it was discovered that there are 4 forces that govern the whole cosmos. So it was reduced to number 4. Newton and other scientists of that age were believing that there are 4 forces. scientific mind was not contented with this four number. They wanted oneness. So the living scientist, Stephen Hawking, the greatest scientist in theoretical science, after long survey and after mathematical calculations, he says that there is only one force that governs the whole cosmos. It is single. In his word, it is single string. So now the single string theory is accepted among scientific community. So this scientific discovery that there is a single string that rules the whole cosmos, it gives us a base, a scientific base in favor of the oneness of God, in favor of Tawheed. So when in science it was established that there is only one force that governs the whole cosmos, this gives us a scientific base in favor of Tawheed, in favor of oneness of God. This is only one example. So why scientists were dissatisfied with the polytheism? Because they found that in nature there is coherence, there is unity. In nature there is a harmony, everywhere harmony. Such harmony requires oneness. Without one force, it is not possible to establish such harmony. So after studying all these things, scientists found that the fact is that only one force is governing the whole universe, the whole cosmos. So when you know all these things, and then you say there is no God but one God, it becomes a realization, it becomes a discovery. It is simply a ritual faith. So I say that kalma is a kind of thought management. It gives you a line of thinking, how to think, how to understand, how to form opinion. So kalma is not simply a recitation. It is art of thought management. When one adopts kalma after long study, after realizing the truth, then for him kalma is intellectual exercise, intellectual finding. So this is the kalma. This is the spirit of kalma. Then the second pillar is salat. Salat prayer. Salat prayer is performed 5 times every day. Salat prayer is performed 5 times every day. It means that salat is, in one sense, gives us the art of time management. Time management. Salat teaches you the art of time management. How to manage your time. How to organize your day and night. So one who observes salat, he manages the whole, he manages his day and night in five periods. In 5 periods. So this is the management of time. Thus, Salat inculcates a habit of time management. So Salat makes one to adopt a disciplined life, a life in which man tries to manage his time. This inculcates in you the sense of sincerity. You become a serious person. You always think that you have to manage your time. Thus, Salat keeps you from wasting your time. Then in Salat prayer, you say Allahu Akbar repeatedly. And what is Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar means God is great. So when you say that God is great, you are remembering that I am not great. When you say that God is great, you are saying, in other words, that I am not great. So it is a lesson of modesty. Salat prayer makes you modest person. And you know, modesty is the greatest virtue of life. Modesty is the greatest virtue of life. So, Salat inculcates in you the spirit of modesty. It is, you can say that it is a spiritual development, because spirituality requires modesty. Without modesty, there is no spirituality. So Salat prayer is a training course for those people who observe Salat regularly. Salat inculcate in you a spirit of seriousness, a spirit of sincerity, a spirit of managing your time, a spirit of modesty. Then you know that when we finish our Salat, we say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you, O people of the world. So it means that Salat also inculcates you the spirit of peace for humanity. Salat inculcates in your personality the spirit of peace. And peace is also a greatest virtue. Thus, Salat makes you a peaceful member of the society. A peaceful member of society. It's very, very important. Then, you see, Zakat is also a pillar of among those 5 pillars. Also, Zakat is a pillar. What is Zakat? Zakat means money management. In other words, Zakat means money management. It Zakat tells you that what you have learned, what you have earned. Zakat tells you that what you have earned, not your personal property. It was given by God. All those things which you earn, it was not your own income. It was given you by God. It was blessing of God. So you have to give a portion of that earning for the sake of God. This is zakat. Giving a portion of your earning for the sake of God is zakat. And this is the money management, principle of money management. It is very important. This inculcates the spirit of zakat. So zakat spirit means that you believe that you are servant of God. Everything which all of your life, all your earnings, all your possessions are blessings from God. So you have to give at least one portion of your earning for the sake of God. So zakat is a kind of money management. Then, then fasting, that is Saum, fasting in the month of Ramadan. Now, what is fasting? Fasting is, the spirit of fasting is a discipline. When you are in the fasting, when you are in the Saum, you decide not to take anything from dawn to the evening. So it is a discipline. You try to follow a discipline. You change your habits. You change your mode of life. When you are in fasting, you follow the commandments of God. So it is a training towards a disciplined life. Saum or fasting means self-discipline, self-control. So it is very important part of our life. Discipline is very important. And we have so many desires. Desire of food, desire of rest, desire of eating, desire of eat and drink. So in Ramadan, when we are fasting, we control our desires. So in this sense, it is the art of desire management. Art of desire management. In Ramadan, you control your desires. Thus, Ramadan teaches you that you are not free. You are under someone, you are under God, under commandment of God. So you have to control your desire. You have to follow the commandment of Sharia. In this sense, fasting is a desire management. Desire management. You have to control your desires. It requires patience. Patience is also a part of fasting. Prophet of Islam has said, Huwa shahrus sabr. Huwa shahrus sabr. Month of fasting is month of patience. Huwa shahrus sabr. Month of fasting is month of patience. You know, patience is the most important part in our life. Every time we need patience. Every time we need to save ourselves from provocation, to save ourselves from anger. Every time we need some kind of patience. Without patience, we cannot follow the pious life of taqwa. So Prophet of Islam said that Huwa shahrus sabr. Month of Ramadan is month of patience. And patience is greatest virtue in our life. Quran says that إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. And the people of patience will be given unlimited reward. Unlimited reward. So patience is very important worship, very important ibadat. Because without patience, you could not adopt the life of taqwa. Without patience, you cannot do anything in this world. Because you know, every time there are provocation, there are different kind of motivation, different kind of desires, different kind of negative feelings. So you have to be patient. Otherwise, you cannot control yourself. All those negative things like arrogance, like malice, like revenge, like lust, so all those things needs patience. Only patience is necessary to control all these negative thoughts. So, Sawm or fasting is a training. It makes you man of patience. So, Sawm is very important to train our personality. Then there is Hajj. About Hajj, there is a verse in the Quran, فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. When one is in Hajj, he must save herself from controversy, from fighting, from quarreling. In other words, Hajj is the art of difference management. It is a fact that when there are many people, there are differences. If you are alone, there is no difference. But in Hajj, there are so many people, 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs people. So in such a gathering, it is but natural that there are differences. So you have to control yourself. You have to manage your differences. So Hajj is a period when you learn the art of difference management. So these are 5 pillars. You can say that these are 5 basic principles of Islam. First is art of thought management. First is kalama, there is art of thought management. Second is salat, there is art of time management. And the third is Saum, there is art of desire management. And fourth is Zakat, there is art of money management. Then the 5 is Hajj, that is art of difference management. These are 5 basic principles. If one have these 5 qualities, then he can manage all his life. These 5 qualities are basic qualities. One who possesses these 5 qualities, he is able to manage all the affairs of his life. One who have these 5 qualities is able to manage all the affairs of his life successfully. So it is called 5 pillars of Islam. 5 pillars of Islam. One who want to observe Islamic way of life, he must learn these 5 arts. And those people who learn these 5 arts and manage their life according to these basic principles, they will be rewarded in paradise. So the basic principles of Islamic life are these 5 principles. These 5 principles, and those people who adopt these 5 principles, they are called mu'min, they are called muttaqin. And it is these people who will be rewarded paradise. So it is the formula of Islamic life. Everyone who wants to have the blessing of God, he must adopt these 5 principles. Otherwise, he is not that kind of person who will be rewarded paradise in the hereafter. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم أجمعين.